past be pretty successful. And with that, iteration of Gale Force Esports that we have now, I'm just going to sit back and, let them prove to me what they really are, I guess.
Well, it's time for them to do just that. We're ready for game number 1 on Battlefield of Eternity between Gale Force Esports and B-Step.
And on the blue side is going to be B-Step. APM is going to be on the Malfurion. iDream playing Zarya. K1 Pro playing Li Ming. Murden is going to be played by King Caffeine. And McIntyre on Ragnaros. I love it.
And with significantly less dancing, at least when it comes to B-Stepping, Gale Force Esports in the blue. Akaface playing Rhaegar. Equinox playing ETC. Fan on Alarak. That sounds deadly. Crowan playing Vala. And finally, Michael Udall will be playing Tychus.
I love that very beginning dancing and B-stepping. That used to be something we would do a lot in grand finals. So I love the fact that B-Step's, bringing out a very old tradition here, if you will. But sadly, we're going to have to take a mini here as a small technical problem has happened once more. We'll be getting in that as soon as possible. And thank you very much for being patient. So back, just to the Gale Force Esports situation, I don't know what you want to call it, this 4 flexing, bringing on the Equinox, like what I guess are your thoughts?
My issue with their flexibility of that is that traditionally I have not seen hero pulls that justify it. When we look at the other side, a B-Step, McIntyre, iDream, K1 Pro, they have been playing for so long and have been put in situations where they play multiple roles. iDream has gone everywhere from ranged flex to ranged assassin to melee assassin. K1 Pro has gone from Tyrael to second Brightwing to Lili to Tassadar to Medivh to help with Glaurung's aggression. And McIntyre, we already talked about his flexibility. That makes sense to me. But looking at some of the players like Crowan, does he have the hero pool to justify that? I don't really know. What do you think?
I agree. I don't think that necessarily they have it, which is why I guess I'm, waiting to really be shown otherwise. I want, as much like you had put before, I want to see that, this team of players that have been around so long, not only so likable, but just skilled and have shown that in moments in their past. You want to see, the very peak of them here, starting with the HGC.
Especially when they have so many playmakers. Look at Fan. Fan is a Heroes of the Dorm and BlizzCon winner. He was on Naventic. He got to go to Global Championships with that, but then he didn't get to go to this BlizzCon, and I think that was the first Global Championship we didn't have Fan at. And
yeah.
It was hard not to see Fan at those because he is seen as the top of North America.
Yeah, and like on the other side with the argument of, how many global championships have we seen some of these players to? Again, with the 3 core members of the old Cloud9 now on B-Step, what we see from them is they've only failed to represent at 1 global championship as well. It wasn't the same one as Fan, but it's always been staggered. And I think that helps for anybody at home that doesn't really understand the strength of these guys, is that they have consistently represented this region at a global championship in different forms and different ways, but the fact that they keep coming back shows that you can't brush them off.
Exactly. And we've got all of the players ready now to go into the games. We're going right back into game number 1 between Gale Force Esports and B-Step.
Let the game begin. B-Step, Gale Force Esports. Alarak is going to be in the 1v1 versus Ragnaros. I'm yet to actually be able to experience that, but I can only imagine Alarak actually might have a more commanding 1v1 victory there than your typical solo laner.
Yeah, he has a lot of self-sustain with Lightning Surge. He can pull in and do a lot of damage too with Discord Strike. So if there were a potential for a gank, which McIntyre's already had to use his well tap, he's fairly low at this point, but he's playing safely. Equinox and Michael Udall spotting it out.
Yeah, this is going to be a really patient movement here for B-Step. You see McIntyre's trying to wait for somebody to show. He's trying to get max range experience. Fan moving aggressively. That move on Fan's part, I think, is a little bit telling of the gank itself, and that sidestep might be a little bit too much. He does end up getting power slid by Equinox, and Mike Udall is going to take that minigun and put him to rest.
Well, let's talk about our blue team, B-Step, and our keys to the game for them versus Gale Force Esports.
K1 Pro's got to be on a high impact hero.
Yeah, it's kind of a given, right?
I think Li Ming might be that hero. So really exciting to see that coming out from them. Then there's going to be flexibility in the draft. I think, you know, Equinox put that really, really well too there. But for now, the teams are skirmishing. The Immortals are just now spawning as everybody seems to be making the rotations. Equinox patiently residing, and there's going to be the fight.
Galeforce Esports were in a better position to get the start of this Immortal and have netted themselves a halfway point. CAF wants to start and engage, wants the rest of B-Step to be able to jump into. No roots to follow up and hold anybody down, though, and now it's a difficult spot. Defending on the aggressive positioning for Immortals is not always the best and easiest thing to do. They're going to continue with this because they have lost so much of the Immortal health. Hopefully send somebody back here and there to poke. Looks like it will be McIntyre to do that, but the next few seconds will be very tense for B-Step.
Yeah, that rotation and the slow rotation coming up from B-Step is really what's forced their hand into this position. McIntyre is going to be chased down here a bit by Udall, as it looks like Galeforce is doing an efficient job to be able to zone. Equinox not getting the effective power slide he may want, but now it looks like the teams are restoring. CAF's going to be the one in the 1v4 to try and peel off here, but this is going to be going over to Galeforce Esports pretty convincingly. The question is, does CAF lose his life in the process? The silence, and he does. And that is a huge victory now for Galeforce.
Beautiful synergy from Equinox and Fan. Power slide immediately followed up by Discord Strike. It is a great hero combination, and one we see quite often with Alarak is to pair ETC with him so that you can make those kinds of moves. Even backwards too, starting with Discord Strike and follow up Power Slide will be a consistent thing to watch for in this match.
Yeah, and the speed at which that early game happened is something you definitely, B-Step did not plan to have happen here this early on with these teams. Experience now almost a full level for Galeforce as McIntyre is going to just be wailing away at that. But that kind of hesitation in the rotation is something we cannot have from B-Step here in this game if they want to stand a chance, as Galeforce, in a very surprisingly passive way, have secured already a level advantage.
And especially because something we already talked about in the draft, Galeforce has a great race comp. Not only do they have somebody, two different somebodies to pull members of B-Step into stuns, but between Tychus and Vala with the Monster Hunter build, which does bonus damage with Hungering Arrow, 2 minions, mercenaries, and monsters, they're going to chunk down an Immortal very quickly, and if they keep getting picks like this,
Like
nice.
Yeah, it was a very good telekinesis into the power slide there. The terrifying kill combo that is Alarak and ETC is one that has to be feared, but B-Step doing a very good job not falling to it and then actually capitalizing on that rotation by getting some pressure here on the bottom front wall.
Seems like B-Step are starting to warm up. We'll see how that works out in the next Immortal phase. Teams looking toward mercenary camps, especially the Bruisers. If you can get these Shaman camps pushing during the Immortal phase, you can force opponents, you should force opponents to go back and defend it, because those things will push for so long.
Yeah, they're really difficult to be able to deal with, and since neither team actually has a global, it's not like one gains really an upper hand on that. Typically what you see is really if you just, you have the global, get the clear, buy as much time as you can, and then make that rotation. But now it's going to really, where the Immortals themselves spawn is going to be a huge advantage or disadvantage for B-Step, just purely on the fact that they are down in the experience department. But CAF gets a bit of harass from Udall, and we're about to have our second Immortal phase.
B-Step Shamans cleared up. B-Step doing the same to clear out Galeforce's Shaman, so neither of them have to worry too much about that. But because Galeforce's were picked up just slightly later, they again had the better positioning, and because of that are getting to halfway first.
I'm impressed that B-Step is willing to risk these races with the composition their opponent has, running, that very damage-focused backline, but then also the fact that B-Step's considering always trading with them. In the long run, I don't think they're going to have a chance of that, and with that double warrior and triple melee, they really do thrive on the defensive, which they seem to be posturing for now. McIntyre possibly getting caught out again, though, Gilly.
Oh, that's trouble. Telekinesis was used too. He's silenced. Everything played out well for Galeforce. No Ragnaros for a little while. The rest of B-Step threw out some damage, but they're so behind anyway on the Immortals that, man, Galeforce is constantly just putting them in a rough spot.
Yeah, the worst part about that is the fact that the rest of B-Step rotated to try and aid McIntyre, be able to keep him up. And in fact, they weren't moving, onto the Immortal, getting that free damage, but they have done a very, very good job getting this peel in the 4 versus 5. Gale Force being a bit hesitant there, only getting better of a harass. K1 Pro sending out quite a few orbs. And he's getting a lot of value out of that level 4.
Yeah, while Gale Force are hanging out around their Immortal, they're trying to stop those with their bodies as much as they can and healing up the damage so they don't, none of K1 Pro's damage does hit and just continually poke down the Immortal. Now Gale Force has decided they're ready to re-engage. They've healed back up. They're looking to see if someone from B-Step will step out just slightly too far, and a quick combo from Alarak, a quick follow-up from Equinox, back and forth. Another takedown.
Yeah, Cap does end up hitting the Storm Bolt on a Fan who's isolated, but nobody's really there outside of an orb to get that kind of harass. Again, keep your eyes on K1 Pro. I'm not kidding when I say I've never seen somebody get that much value out of that level 4 talent. I believe it's Triumvirate. Absolutely ridiculous. But these teams are just going to be dancing here back and forth, waiting for the mistake of their opponents in the long run. If this goes an insanely long duration, Gale Force should have the upper hand. It's really just going to come down to, I think, a Stormbolt K1 Pro combo if they're going to have a shot here for B-Step.
Caffeine's starting to heal up. Part of the problem, though, is he's low on mana, and K1 Pro's getting there, too. Took Astral Presence, so as he starts to get super low in mana, that'll recharge faster, but only up to a certain point.
Yeah, and Fan, again, has been isolated. That's about the 3rd time he's tried to make that play onto his own, and he does have a little bit of ability to do that with the combo into his silence, but I can't help but feel like if that moment happens as this game moves on, it might be enough for B-Step to be able to punish. But, the dance is real right now. Ragnaros trying to throw out his Meteor. Everybody's trying to, just test, what's going on. As Gale Force does seem to move up a bit.
It seems like it'll get to a certain point where one of the teams will have poked the Immortal down enough that they're willing to go in, maybe lose somebody, but to get the Immortal. Gale Force, I thought it was going to be that moment ago. They didn't. They backed off. If they keep poking, eventually they will win the race to 10.
Good root. Cleanse coming out from Akka. Yeah, it's slowly but surely B-Step's getting it. The question is, are they going to be able to get it before 10? And now that they're so close, Gale Force, I wouldn't be surprised if they just sent Vala or somebody to soak and pressure a side lane, secure that 10. It's pretty close to 2 waves, not quite yet for them to be able to secure it. But for now, it's just a very patient Gale Force Esports and B-Step.
It seems like Gale Force just can't block everything. They try to block Zarya and then K1 Pro off to the side. And B-Step have been playing this phenomenally to keep distracting the members of Gale Force. They keep moving away from where K1 is. Finally, Crowin soaks up an orb, but somehow, some way, B-Step have gotten ahead in the Immortal health.
Yeah, Mikey Doll's in a tough spot on the retreat. They somehow are winning 1.1k health to 3.3 as Calf takes a lot of pressure. Crowin barely is going to be able to vault out of there. The heals are being used here by APM. Combo going on to Zarya. Fan not able to secure the kill. Stormbolt lands. Meteor thrown out. That's a lot of their poke as the Immortals are not touched, but I expect B-Step to be able to step into here. And look at how close Gale Force Esports is to 10, and B-Step gets the 2nd Immortal.
I just can't.
I
just can't.
That was absolutely beautiful.
I know.
By B-Step. It was beautiful, but the mistakes made during the first one have set them so far behind that they aren't really going to be able to capitalize the way that they would desire to. They will be able to pick that up after about the front wall, but McIntyre is not committing. Actually, they're just going to feign and do a rotation to the bottom lane here because they knew they couldn't do anything for that small window. But if the next Immortal phase is as well calculated by B-Step as that last one was, we've got a game on our hands.
2 towers and a well. The victory, the spoils of the victory in the Immortal phase, and heroic abilities on for both. Sulfurous Smash continues to be the favorite for Ragnaros, ETC reserving until he can maybe surprise somebody. Makes me think that'll be Mosh Pit, but you never know until you know.
You never know until you know. It is going to be the Mosh Pit there. Caffeine throwing out the Stormbolt, the Silence combo going in. Good cleanse there coming out from APN. Will be able to keep him up as Counter-Strike was used. That's a very short cooldown though. B-Step is on full retreat at this point. Keep in mind, Avatar is there. There's going to be the 3rd win. They have the opportunity to turn this fight if things get crazy, but the combo going on to Zarya, the Silence, this Mosh Pit, Strafe's coming in. This is not good for B-Step. Gale Force just ripping through their health bars.
Sulfurous Smash goes down. Everyone avoided from Gale Force, but it will stop the chase from Gale Force and make sure no one else goes down. But you have to watch your positioning, because even if you're in the right positioning versus an Alarak, especially an Alarak played by Fan, come on, it could still be in a bad position.
You're very quickly in a place where you're like,
I'm in the middle of their team.
Can you help me? Because this is not good. Sadly, Malfurion's not the support that can be like, don't worry, I've got your back here. Immortal Phase now is going to be spawning. Gale Force Esports has the opportunity to back out and get their Shaman Camp, which means B-Step capped it a little bit too early. We'll see if that gains them anything here. For Gale Force Esports, as they still have that level advantage. 13 won't be available for some time unless B-Step does the Immortal dance we just witnessed. We might be to 20 by the time that gets done.
That did take a while. B-Step cleared out Khazra. Both teams have the Bruisers pushing. The Bruisers in the bottom for B-Step will get to the fort faster. And since that fort did take damage in the last Immortal phase, while they split push, they're going to send Alarak down. So Gale Force has sent Alarak down. B-Step sees this. Can they make something happen before he can come back?
A lot of harass there going on to Crow, and Aka's got the heal. He'll be able to maintain that HP. The bottom camp has gotten cleared, and because the timing there, Gale Force Esports Shaman Camp is pressuring. Time is in their favor, not only because of the experience, but because of that camp. Suddenly, you see Equinox overextend maybe a little bit too much. Good expulsion zone to zone him off, but Akaface has got the Ancestral Healing.
Twilight Dream was used in that, so was Expulsion Zone, so a lot of the heroic abilities going down. That was Sulfuris Smash, and it smashed through Tychus' health bar. Wasn't able even to use Commandeer Odin, so that will not be available to Gale Force for the duration of this fight. The chase continues, the ETC leading B-Step away on a merry little chase through the blue side.
This is too many resources committed. The death times are so short. Equinox is getting so much value right now because the death timers are so short. They have to commit a lot of resources on the side of B-Step to make sure they win the race. But because Gale Force sent everybody directly down to the Immortal, suddenly, even though, yes, B-Step, you got the upper hand of the fight, you are still losing in the department that is the Immortal health bars. We do see Gale Force is backed out, 12 seconds still until we have Equinox spawning here. The phase will happen, and we're going to have another fight where Gale Force should pick up 13 first.
Halftime show has commenced, and it's going to safe spots. So what does B-Step do? Do they just try to defend as force and people
20.
up and...
When it's this close to your
Level
base...
20?
No, not 20, sorry, 13.
I was like,
you match the
Dread,
talent
I thought you were joking.
No, you match the talent tier of your opponent. Whenever Gale Force manages to pick up 13, they should have enough time because it's a pretty easy transition and so close to a well that you can really get that out. But you also have superior poke here, and because Gale Force hasn't picked up the 13, you know, just keep flinging all your spells. iDream, spam that Q. K1 Pro, throw out the Ws, and over time they're going to get the advantage. Gale Force, I expect Fan to go in now that 13's been picked up. And so try and B-Step, you know, just clear a side lane as you can. Top, come down really fast. Like, Rad can almost one-shot the wave, and things like that is what I'd like to see from them. But Odin's going to be used.
B-Step, K1 Pro is in the back trying to flank. Crowan's been using Strafe, only takes some damage. Here comes Equinox in, lands on top of it. Twilight Dream stops out the mosh pit. King Caffeine almost went down, but self-healing has started.
Huge credit to APM in that team fight. The cleanse, the heal, barely keeping himself alive. Twilight Dream canceled so much and was able to hit people over the wall. Very well done. Definitely a huge improvement for him as a player compared to what we saw out of 2016. We'll see if that continues here. 13 still for Gale Force Esports. B-Step's just poking and poking and poking. If they do pick up the 13, they will be able to match the talent tiers. I think they can. There's only 2 heroics available on the side of Gale Force Esports, and Ancestral Healing is really the only impactful one. K1 Pro with a good dodge, and Mikey Dahl eating a lot of that Meteor. Expulsion Zone was used, but again, B-Step just wants to poke. They just, as long as they don't get hard engaged on, and without those heroics, they can't really hard engage for Gale Force.
A lot of Gale Force went back to tap the mid well, come back in for maybe one final push, but 13 is so close for B-Step. Equinox wants to move in with the rest of Gale Force before B-Step can get that option. Yeah,
and there was a lot of combo used there from Fan. But again, 2.3k HP is still left here on the Immortal, while Gale Force Esports has a total of 13,000 to try and rip through. K1 Pro eating the harass from Mike Udall's minigun, but does it matter as Ragnaros does get the silence, the combo over, and Ragnaros McIntyre almost heals himself up with that Q. K1 Pro is a bit out of position trying to get that harass onto the rest of the team, but this is a man up here for Gale Force Esports.
Equinox went in, and the follow-up from Fan was good to finally take out Ragnaros. He had been moving back and forth, getting 13. Malfurion blown up by Fan too.
Yeah, and that is now going to be a 3 versus 5. If K1 Pro is too oomed, even if he got a reset, it would not matter at this point. But King Caffeine in there by himself, he's going to be able to take on Fan, Counter-Strike, Ancestral, and this should be able to secure not only a kill on King Caffeine, but the Immortal for Gale Force Esports.
3 kills for Gale Force. It now stands 7 kills to 2. The Immortal is fairly low again on shielding, and Ragnaros is up. Sulfurous Smash, you'll have that in a little while too. So their defense should be pretty fast. Not sure that they're going to be able to do much for the fort, though, if they want to try to defend there. Looks like yes.
It looks like that is going to be the choice here. Even being down a man and no Molten Core is going to be popped. All right, just throwing out the Meteor and the Harass. They're sacrificing a large amount of experience in the top lane, specifically B-Step is, by getting this 5-man defense down here. If the front wall falls, that should be 15 and a little bit over half here for Gale Force, so no 16 advantage for a while. Plus, you know, that Molten Core kind of makes you want to go like, should we really go any farther than this?
Yeah, especially with the shielding being as low as it was. It's already down to half health. Bella, the Red Immortal, should be cleared up fairly quickly, and as long as B-Step don't lose anybody in the defense, then they will be okay. But again, being down a talent tier as the Immortal phase starts just puts added pressure on a team. B-Step have been doing a beautiful job of poking down Immortals as best they can, but whenever Gale Force decides that they have the big advantage, and in this case, they're going to even earlier and for longer, it's more of a problem.
It is, and B-Step again is going to be taking the Shaman Camp. Same with Gale Force Esports, both kind of neglecting the opportunity that might arise with the Immortal phase here. So those won't be up for some time, and B-Step is just looking to be able to pick up that 16 wherever they can. Bottom 4 is the lowest in HP, but realistically, Gale Force is far too close to 16. If they just clear this wave, this might be ugly for B-Step, as there could be a huge flank. APM kind of sniffing it out. McIntyre has committed, and so is Calf. Somebody might be going down here. Power slide, combo, no silence hit, good cleanse, Avatar use. Rag is completely forfeiting the fight. He is running, but they are going to be choked in. This is not pretty for B-Step.
This is a bad spot to be in. Ragnaros is out, so it's a 4v5 immediately until Ragnaros. They can join back up with him as he gets back. He's coming in. Mercenary camps are pushing on either side. Mosh Pit with cleanse again secures a kill on Malfurion. Damage being thrown out. K1 Pro flanks, almost taking down Akaface, but not quite there.
Yeah, and so much harass. K1 Pro again throwing out the combo, getting the Zarya shield. That was very well done there on the side of Gale Force Esports, and a bit aggressive, or at least greedy here for B-Step, as they are now down 16 talent here. The Immortal spawning in 15 seconds, and 16's not in sight, not for this phase.
Another great thing too is Gale Force realized that nobody was defending the camp up at the top on B-Step. All of them were down on the bottom trying to get that risky Khazra camp so they could have the push. Oh no, iDream caught by Gale Force just as the Immortal phase 2. This gets worse and worse. When it rains, it pours for B-Step. No 16. Immortal phase. They lost their top fort because they got caught too far forward down on the bottom, making a risky play that didn't work out.
Yeah, now they're just looking to trade as much damage as they can during the halftime phase, if we have so aptly named it here. They need to be looking for any kind of experience. Top lane's a bit safe. Bottom would have been a free clear for a moment, but no longer is that the case here. Positioning works in the benefit of B-Step, but I don't think it's really going to matter. That's ideal, except for Fan getting knocked out. Has to use his own telekinesis. That could have been bad. Good cleanse from Akka. Sulfurous Smash only going to hit Mike Udall. So what was just a fraction of a second away from bad news bears here for GFE.
Zarya's returned, running through the mid-gate to get back to the rest of B-Step, and I feel like we've been in this situation before, Dread.
I think I agree. The only difference is for the first time we see Ragnaros has gotten that split push that I was referencing to earlier. His ability to clear a wave is great, and I just wish that had come out a bit earlier here for B-Step. Odin is now going to be using Expulsion Zone to get the split. 1.2k left on the Immortal. It's going to be going over. 16 still not available for B-Step, so only really cost Gale Force Esports and Odin, which isn't that much here, considering how healthy that Immortal is going to be. But B-Step finally got that 16 talent here.
It's far different than the Immortal pushes in the past that Gale Force have had. The shielding is nearly full, and Ragnaros Molten Core only lasts so long, especially when you don't have Heroic difficulty because you're not at 20. Probably again we'll see him use it as soon as the Immortal gets up close so he can do what damage he can. while it's not wailing away on him at the same time. Gets the full duration out of that Molten core, but hasn't used it so far.
Immortal getting a lot of poke there from K1 Pro, sending the shields now to a little bit below half. Stun goes out, goes on to McIntyre. Combo is silenced, will hit. Good shield coming out from iDream onto McIntyre. Keep him up. There's the Molten Core. Equinox power slides in, only gonna hit Calf. Good stun though. So Furious Smash onto Crowan. Huge damage there. Akaface cleanses, keeps him alive. McIntyre now falling out of the Molten Core. GFE should be able to get this keep.
They're gonna get the keep. They want to try to get more if they can find the right kills. Fans looking for the combo. Gets it on K1 Pro. K1 Pro jumps away with teleport. This is still half health.
Yeah, 22 minutes in, the scaling and damage is serious. K1 Pro, Caffeine dies onto the backline. Avatar, everybody's health bar so low. APM ends up using Twilight Dream, not really hitting anyone. The core health shields have not even really been touched. 93%. Odin's back. This could be a tough spot. GFE, it looks like they're going for it. McIntyre stays alive with this 13. APM is so low. This is going to be a tough fight here, Gilly, because Gale Force just lost Fan.
Fan is down, and so is Equinox. Very, very close. Another jump in. Make sure he gets taken out. iDream's chasing Crowan in the back. Crowan putting damage on the core, and knowing that he's going to go down, pulling everyone away from the rest of Gale Force, the couple members who can get back. Gale Force lost 3 members, but they took down a keep. They got the core to 78%. There's no Mule. Mount Furion had to take a cleanse. B-Step need to do everything they can to take advantage of this time frame where Gale Force don't have everybody.
And when the map objective is pretty much the only way to really get an effective siege, their own best chances here are just taking the Shaman Camp, denying it, rotating to the top lane, taking out that fort for free, catching up a bit in experience, paint the map blue. Again, the Khazra camp after the fort would be the strategy I would go for here. It looks like they're a little bit slow on that, and there goes the rotation. Back out, get the Khazra camp, then take the bottom one, and then time yours perfectly with the Immortal phase, and we might see B-Step suddenly be able to turn this game back. We're 23 minutes into it, 78% core to 100.
It's also an extra bonus to take the Shaman camp away from Gale Force because the top lane is where it would push. Every mercenary camp they can get, even looking potentially at the Khazra here, if they can get that, it's not extra pressure being put on that. And look at this, B-Step have caught up in experience.
Yep, and they are going to have the Shaman camp available. Very good timing. So if we get a defensive positioning like we have in the last 2 Immortal phases, B-Step might be able to set themselves a little bit apart here from GFE, maybe for the first time of this game. Immortal now is going to be spawning. Positioning sits aggressive for both sides. Everybody seems to get the rotation. Calf is questioning, should he get that solo defense? Now, B-Step moves in. That's a telekinesis used. There's no combo available. Fan is going to be in a tough spot. Expulsion zone used. Counter-strike. He is going to be... Mosh pit instantly interrupted. Fan goes down.
Cleanse was already used on him too. Everything was used to try to keep him alive. Except Ancestral Healing hits Equinox, but he's still in a bad spot. B-Step chasing every single member of Gale Force they can get their hands on.
Yeah, the phasing is going to happen relatively soon here, though, so somebody needs to back out McIntyre specifically by himself and work on the Immortal while the rest defend, because if this phases, it buys again. It's going to be 5 to 10 seconds health bar, or excuse me, timing for Gale Force Esports to get a fan back into this fight. You see Crowan, they're trying to get the phase, but it's not going to happen quite yet here. 28-second advantage still for B-Step. Experience being almost dead even. There are 3 catapults now building in the top lane. Good brew coming up from APN. The stun is going to land from the Immortal. Do they have the damage?
They knew he had to power slide, and he went straight into roots from APM. Phasing finally happened, but the Immortals are incredibly close in health, but it's B-Step who are narrowly going to be ahead in experience to get 20.
They are the ones ahead in experience, but Ragnaros is back at the base getting rid of those catapults. Caffeine's trying to defend. Gale Force goes, you have no Ragnaros. We aren't afraid. Expulsion zone splits Equinox. The silence from Twilight Dream. He goes down. K1 Pro gets the reset, and suddenly B-Step has the advantage in this game.
No ETC, no frontline warrior for a few seconds, but Gale Force knows that to be able to pick up the Immortal, B-Step still has to split apart. They still have a chance to make it work here. They just have to find the weak point in B-Step.
15,000 health sits on the Immortal for B-Step. 7,000, 6,000 quickly withering down. This is going to be a lot of shielding available this late into the game. We are 26 minutes in. The question is now, top lane, will they be able to make something happen? Because if B-Step does not confirm the game here, they're going to be in a position to where at least it's on the same side of the keep, actually. That is a pretty big benefit, so it will neutralize the lane. I mean, I just don't know if I'd be willing to risk, you know, going any farther.
No, 26 minutes
this is
in,
my moment.
when it's gone back and forth, 9 kills to 7, I totally agree. Here they're going to move in with the Immortal. They went back immediately to make sure they were full on health, full on mana, and to push back the lanes.
All right, so in 23 seconds, the minute you get past this keep, actually, we're going to see a Molten Core already going to be popped here. And since Odin is used, I really want to see APM have a huge Bolt Twilight Dream as this moves to the core. If it does get that low, 10 seconds now, if he manages to do that, the amount of play that Gale Force really has in their comp is going to be non-existent while they have their eyes onto the core. 27 minutes, Rag just getting out of Molten Core. We have Twilight Dream online. Let's see what happens.
Here we go. B-Steps moving in. Fan goes to the telekinesis. That is down. He has to move back. Roots behind him too.
Shield's not even
Equinox
touched.
has Mosh Pit. He wants to see if he could get a Mosh Pit. This could be, if they find it, the winning play for Gale Force Esports. B-Step trying to regroup.
Crowan ate so much damage. Fan actually missed his combo too. APM and Rag have managed to get the mount up. Gale Force thinks that they still want this fight, but things could get ugly very fast here. APM questioning, does he bolt? Does he dream? The team's now respecting, you know, the line of scrimmage. They're questioning where are they going to be looking to go. And in the end, a lot of hype, but no action as both teams seem to, you know, just return to their positioning. And Calf, good dodge on to the power slide. Combo does hit. This is not the chokehold you want. Expulsion zone, if you are Gale Force Esports, has got to be something you are very fearful of.
Yeah, but Mosh Pit's pretty scary too. There's a lot of ways to interrupt though. Equinox has not really been able to get that many good Mosh Pits because between Expulsion Zone, Wave of Force 2, other things they have, he's jumping in right now. Ancestral Healing on Fan, but he's taking so much damage from McIntyre and King Caffeine. He's the first one to drop. Twilight Dream goes down in the back. Aka face silence for being able to help out the rest of his team. Equinox bailing out of trouble, but McIntyre moving in, trying to catch him with movement speed. Gonna get the kill. He's so close. Moonfire hits. Boom. One particle grenade and another kill for B-Step.
One nade and one kill. 30 seconds for the Immortals to spawn. That means that we see a 30-second advantage where 2 people will be down and then only, or excuse me, for 1 person to be down and only 15 here for Fan to be down. So B-Step needs to make sure that they get at least past the first phasing, excuse me, get to the halftime phase, if you will, here of the Immortals if they are going to be able to pull out a win here in this game. Abuse the fact that they do not have Equinox, and then, you know, trying to get that initiation before Mosh Pit comes back off or back online.
It's really important too. You saw the health of the bottom keep for B-Step. This Immortal is key for them, and they did get their bruiser still. They took the time to get that. That will push the bottom lane, maybe even priming the keep to allow for a big Immortal to take it down.
This. They don't see them.
Nice.
Cap walks in. I'll take this Shaman Camp. All right, see you, nerds. He's going to be backing out there. Very well done. It's very confusing when you see just the Murd and you're like, how much does he have behind him? We only have 3. Can we deal with this? And Gale Force gives it up, forfeits it. Halftime now going to be hit on the Immortals. And this is it, Gilly. This is the moment.
All of Gale Force are back.
Oh, this positioning is the worst for Gale Force. They have to go. They are absolutely desperate at this point. The fight, McIntyre, aggressive, Calf with the peel.
17 seconds until Mosh Pit.
17.
But B-Step might not know that.
They might not, and Twilight Dream has come back online. All heroics are still available for B-Step. Odin's going to be used to zone. I expect B-Step to just let that happen, say, you know, we don't really need to fight your huge robot.
Terminator 2.0. Calf jumps out. Michael Udall is just ticking down. He did take Big Red Button, though, so that's an increased duration of Odin. Gives them a little bit more time to see if anybody's out of position.
And the Mosh Pit actually with, that is a huge cooldown use. K1 Pro is able to survive. Keep in mind, the bottom keep is now falling for Gale Force. They have no structural defense left, minus their core. The health is low. The split there. The Blink, the Twilight Dream. So much damage. The Ancestral does not land. B-Step managed to get the kill here onto Crowan, and they're now looking for more.
Wave of Force throws Akaface back into the team. Another jump, heavy impact, and Rhaegar will drop too. This gets harder and harder. It wasn't even heavy impact. They just had the stuns. B-Step now decide they still want to get the rest of the Immortal. They might as well. The mercenary camp has hit the core. This Immortal is heading straight to core. 48 seconds left.
No, they're looking for the combo onto McIntyre, looking to get the pick. He was in a tough spot. It almost lands. He gets the submerge, and he gets his Q out. That was such a brilliant play. The only way Gale Force could even not lose this game as it goes to the core is by getting the pick, and Mac almost fell into it. But sadly, back at the base, 85, 84, they don't even need the Immortal. With that camp that was taken, Gale Force never could respond to it, and the shields are now lowered. It is a time game here. as the Immortal just marches the bottom lane.
B-Step keeps all of Gale Force from even backing to defend too. Immortal stepping ever closer to the core. It's at 84%. Fan is back, doesn't know exactly where B-Step is.
This is 30 minutes into the game. One auto attack, 62% into 49. My goodness.
What a game. 31 minutes on Battlefield of Eternity. Back and forth. Gale Force with the aggression, but B-Step ever patient to bring this game back and win the first in this best of 5.
Very calculated play coming out from B-Step there. It started all at the second Immortal phase. First one, a little bit sloppy, but from that point on, they very much had a plan of what they wanted to be able to make happen and executed rather well, but also phenomenal showing from GFE. That was a game, the best game I think we've had so far here at HGC NA.
Oh, I totally